You start to gain different mentors along the journey and what's important to you. So I wouldn't necessarily say one individual. I think that the most powerful thing that I ever learned was, how can I take the best bits of different people
That's right.
and make it my own?
I'm Gary Engels, CEO of MyGig, and this is Money Moves Only. This isn't a podcast about gimmicks, hacks, or overnight success. It's about making strategic moves that create freedom. Financial freedom, time freedom, and the freedom to build your future on your terms. Now, each week, we sit down with business leaders, entrepreneurs, and experts across industries to explore what's working in today's economy and how you can tap into it. Now, whether you're growing your own income, scaling a team, or just getting started, you're here because you want real, lasting results. At MyGig, we've built a platform that helps everyday professionals do just that. And this podcast is your inside track. Welcome to Money Moves Only. Now let's go build something that lasts. All right, welcome everybody back to the MyGig podcast. I'm Gary Engels, CEO of MyGig. I'm here with Alex Babiolakis, and he's the VP of Sales here with MyGig. And I wanted to get into a little conversation here today about like the who. You know, who do we serve here, right? Who is considered a gig worker, right? And I've kind of recognized that there's really like three main audiences, you know, that we really kind of cater to and work with here. You know, the first being, you know, the side giggers, right? Anybody with a 1099, they might have a job, but they're kind of maybe underemployed, or a part-time job maybe, but they have a 1099. They have some kind of a side gig that they're working right now because they need that extra income. Several different, you know, ways that might come about, but that's really that first audience. The second audience might be the small business owner or the person who, you know, has a 1099, but that's their whole income. You know, that's the business in a box kind of a thing, right? And that's really something that we really help with MyGig, is creating this full business in a box opportunity. Yeah. And then the third type of person is really anybody with an entrepreneurial mindset that maybe just wants a little you know, extra income on the side, right? It's not really a side business, but man, they recognize hey, I know a restaurant I could really help with. You know, I could help this other business here with this service or whatever, right? I know somebody, right? Yeah. And I think those are kind of, you know, where we want to focus here. But you know, you've been on a lot of these conversations, you know, with people that are getting started with MyGig. You have a lot of these calls every day. You're on different conference calls with top leaders and, you know, partners that we're working with. And who do we serve here in your eyes? And like who is really the best person that we could really help with MyGig?
I mean, I think we really serve all of those three different diverse groups, right? I think most of the people out there live in the first two. They're either people that are employed, looking for some extra money, or they are full-time 1099, you know, gig workers, like the business in a box. They're this is all they do. And then there are those kind of unique ones that have built a huge career in the entrepreneurial world, and they have a lot of influence and they have a lot of people that follow them, but they're less from like a number standpoint than the everyday person that you know, again, we could really help, and I think that they could call MyGig home. So it's an exciting place to be because you can kind of hit every type of, not only demographic, but every type of person in whatever stage they're in as far as their journey and they're in their entrepreneurial life or their professional life, if they're coming out of college. You know, there's just, it's so diverse. Mm-hmm.
I just had a conversation with a friend. This is actually one of my students. I've known her since she was 9 years old. Now she's an adult out of college, and she just actually got a real estate license. And so just kind of working with people like this, that they're just starting in this entrepreneurial journey and, like, you know, trying to figure it out, right? They're taking this approach of, okay, I'm now an adult, right? I'm now like on my own. I'm talking about that young person, right, that is kind of just getting their life started. And we had a great conversation about, you know, what it's going to take, you know, like what, I think that, you know, I know when I was that age, I was like, I had all these huge dreams, and it's like, I'm going to, you know, next month I'm going to be driving this new car, or, you know what I mean? Like, you have this overinflated idea of like how fast success is going to come to you and whatever. Right.
And you always feel like you're the, like, I'm going to be the one that just has
Yeah.
no hiccups.
Yeah, right.
My first deal is going to land, and
Right.
there's no issues. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not really prepared for life to kick you in the butt.
Yeah. I had the same idea in my head coming out of college. I was like, man, I have this opportunity. I'm just going to open a restaurant down in South Florida. I had a guy that was, supposedly working for Subway as their head of like franchises. And yeah, we were going to open a franchise. We signed all the franchise agreements and everything like that. And I was like, perfect. Like, how can this go wrong? Mm-hmm. And he ended up literally draining the bank account. And that was my first experience coming out of college into entrepreneurship. And I was like, that is the biggest, I guess the worst feeling, but the best lesson I ever learned. And it was the first deal. No. Because like the wet behind your ears, naivety, right. Like you kind of come out of it and you realize, okay, this is going to be hard work. If you want to do it, it's going to be hard work, but it's worth it.
It is. And you have to fail.
Yeah.
You have to fail. Like there's, I don't know, a single person that, came out of like high school and like hit success and just never failed. Yeah. Like doesn't work that way, right? I mean, everybody goes through this process and this journey. The people that I'm most excited about, that we're working with is honestly the people that have failed, that have already gone through some of these processes and they have tried this, tried that, here's my experience, my lesson that I learned from that. Right. And now they're ready to be able to hear things differently. Right. Because they're a different person today than they were before. Before they were, the naivety, like okay, everything is going to be perfect. Right. And then all of a sudden you realize.
And I'm the special case.
Yeah. Right. And all of a sudden now they've come to the realization of what it's going to take. Right. And that's a powerful moment to hit. Right. I know that you and I have talked about this before, but our moment, that journey that just getting knocked down hard and then all of a sudden realizing what it's going to take to succeed, right? But that's the person that I'm really excited about working with, right? Is the person that, like I said, has some of those past experiences, have some of those failures, have some of those, shortcomings and whatever, right? Because now they are in a place to be able to receive and to hear and to be able to learn and to be able to really apply what it is that we do, and be able to go into a business and offer some real value and a real service and come from a place of being able to serve and to help.
Yeah. No, I think that's it's an exciting place to be because like I always say you have to allow the process to break you down and then build you back up. And you can't fight it. And those types of people, even like the newest person that's coming into it, I think that the coolest thing about this is there's people that have done it and failed a lot. I guess failed for you and created an ecosystem that, I mean, there really isn't like, not an overhead, but like a weight on, employees that you have to pay, like big responsibilities outside of yourself. So overheads that you have to take on. So you're kind of free to really like run with this. And having the experience of other individuals that are here that can kind of drive you forward and allow the system to do the heavy lifting. Like you can do something that a lot of people can't or don't say they have the ability to do, and that's leverage. They can leverage the system and leverage other people for their success. And I know that's hard to believe or even hard to understand, but where can you really leverage other people's experience and other people's knowledge and a system for your benefit without them asking for a hand-me-down? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the uniqueness of what this platform really can give to a gig worker or someone that is coming out of college or someone that is looking to kind of experience something different. Is I don't need to know everything. I can use the experience and leverage of the system, and I could be successful piggybacking off that whole entire ecosystem.
Yeah, we all need help, and I think sometimes help comes from the form of a coach or a mentor, right? And the knowledge and experience that person has. So sometimes you don't have that giant failure your coach did, right? And they can help you through that before you have to, hit that roadblock. Sure. So they can help you past it. I think that's important. But we also all need, like when I started my martial arts school, so brick and mortar business, right? It cost a lot of money to get that up and running, to get that, the first month, last month rent, security deposit, all the equipment and, things like that, the furniture, all that kind of stuff to be able to get up and going. It was a big undertaking, right? And admittedly, I had to borrow some money. My family stepped in and helped out because I was 22 years old and didn't have anything, and that was empowering, right? So somebody stepped in to help with that. And I guess, and I say that because any business that you go to start, we all need some assistance, some leverage, right? To be able to have somebody kind of give us that little boost, that little help with it, right? And this is where, like, no matter what audience you fall into, if you're brand new, just getting started, or if you've already got a lot of these experiences and things like that in the past, right? We all need help from each other. But we also all have relationships that we can lean on, that we can reach out to. One of the things that we offer with MyGig is it's a tax credit, right? And basically it's found money, right? It's not a sale at all, right? You're not asking for anything from like a restaurant owner. You're going to them and saying, hey, you probably qualify for this. Would you like to explore it together, right? And I look at this like this is a way to be able to leverage, right? To be able to leverage those relationships. Do you know somebody, that is in the restaurant industry that can help, right? That's a way to be able to leverage a relationship, to be able to work with them and to help them, and they can help you essentially also, right? To kind of work together on this. Mentors and coaches and people that step in and help us, they build us up, right? I think that's where that's why we're doing this podcast, to kind of maybe help inspire and to kind of help motivate and kind of get build you up a little bit and help somebody to get started. But we all have those people in our lives, right? And the idea of you can't do something like this all on your own. You should never be able to expect to do it on your own. You won't be able to do it on your own. Nobody does it on their own, right?
It's a long road by yourself.
and personal responsibility, sure, right? Nobody going to do it for you either, right? You have to do the work, but you don't have to do it by yourself, right? And that's where the community, that's where like the app, the tools and the resources, all that kind of stuff come into play. But tell me about your mentor, your coach. Who's that person that really drove you and kind of helped you, like build you up, kind of gave you the confidence and the tools and the resources or whatever it was that you needed to be able to kind of, say, hey, you know what, I can do this.
I guess it starts like there's different people in your life that come at different points in time, right? To help you in different situations. I guess kind of before I touch on that, I remember hearing this saying a while ago, and it always sticks with me. And I think it's important for people that are coming in. Is you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself.
Yeah.
And that was like, okay, like I can leverage a community. I can use a system. But as far as like the mentorship side, like a lot of the stuff that I've learned from like the principles in business came from sport.
Yeah.
From leadership development to how to work with a team to how to play to someone else's strengths and how they can compensate for your weaknesses and cover up those weaknesses. So again, trying to do it by yourself is so difficult. So for myself, a lot of coaches growing up and when I played soccer, both my parents have never worked for anyone else. So all I've known is having two parents that have owned restaurants. So I've kind of seen through their failures and their success, like what to do and what landmines not to step on. And then in kind of them giving me the freedom to go out there and kind of do something for myself, some of the times I didn't listen. And I know some people are going to be the same. They're not going to want to listen. But I guess, as time kind of goes by, and I can even say like now, not because you're in front of me, but like once I got to know you and work with you over the last 6 years, like you're also a mentor to me just because you were a father before I was. You are able to juggle the dynamic of having a family and having, your business and stuff like that. So you start to gain different mentors along the journey and what's important to you. So I wouldn't necessarily say one individual. I think that the most powerful thing that I ever learned was how can I take the best bits of different people
That's right.
and make it my own.
Yeah. Yeah, we steal, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to steal from others, right? And that's the idea. We steal the good.
Well,
right?
it's okay to copy.
Yeah, exactly. And we all mimic and copy each other, right? That's important. The idea of again, leadership, right, is such an important core, part of my whole career. And that word has really defined a lot of what I do. And, the whole school that I built is called Leadership Academy, right? But that's the idea that as a leader is somebody who has been on that path before you, right, and can kind of show you the way, right, and show you the way through the darkness, kind of thing. They've already been there. They've seen, what that looks like, and they can show you that way, right? And it's interesting. You're talking about your parents, right? How they kind of showed you the way of entrepreneurship, but because they were that. I mean, that was their identity. They were entrepreneurs. They already ran, restaurants, right, and kind of showed you that, that path, and you just copied that. You copy the good. You copy, what worked, and I'm sure you recognize what didn't work too, and copy that.
Big time. And you avoid it.
Avoid that, yeah, right.
And my parents never went to like college or anything like that. So what they learned was that they went through the school of life, and myself and my brothers, coming into that hospitality business and becoming owners of that. You kind of start to learn different things. Okay, like what did they do that we don't want to do, and why did they do that? And then it's the same thing, you take into your own personal life of like you learn different things, and I can come to you and say, what did you do in this situation, and what did you like, and you'll tell me your experience in a negative, and then okay, how can I avoid that,
right?
And then what would you have done differently? Because if I haven't walked that path yet, I can avoid that landmine, right? But it comes with communication and just again being open to asking for help. I think a lot of people are ashamed to ask for help.
My parents, a similar kind of a thing, right? I watched them both kind of go through this journey of entrepreneurship and starting their own businesses, right? And my dad runs a print shop, a copy shop. Learning and watching him do the graphic design and watching him kind of, set up shop and started from nothing. We started out of his living room, but I remember that journey. I remember watching the grit and the, just building something from scratch, right? And I learned a ton from that, and watching that journey and watching how that all played out. And even like watching, admittedly, my own journey with Leadership Academy and watching the idea of a brick and mortar business, kind of starting it and kind of going down this road because I copied what I knew, right? If you started a business, well, I'll start a business, right? And what I learned from that and what's interesting to me is I had some other mentors that understood leverage in a different way, and they understood how to build a business that was very, very different than what I was doing there, right? Because I recognized the glass ceiling of my martial arts school. I can only put so many people on the mats at any given time, right? Yeah. I mean, and it's a small town, right? And so I can never grow that business bigger than it really is right now. We've been at like 200 members, for the last almost 20 years, right? It's capped, right? I can't ever build that bigger than that, which is part of the reason it led me into gig work. It's part of the reason it led me into like, what else is there? What else can I leverage or scale and build that is going to allow me to, grow beyond that glass ceiling that was there, right? Doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that brick and mortar business. I love it. I love teaching. I love doing what I do there, right? It's very part-time. I teach a couple hours a night, 4 days a week. It's amazing. But that in order for me to be able to grow and to scale, I had to look beyond my parents' model of building a business, right? And how they did that and look at how can I scale it bigger and better, bigger and, and what I learned in working with different mentors and coaches is that you have to play with a different playing field, play with a different set of rules, right? You can't win a game if you don't understand the rules, right? Yeah. I admittedly, I don't understand all the rules of soccer. I never really followed it. I followed American football, right? And I know you'll love that. And I don't actually know all the rules to soccer. Obviously, I know you can't grab the ball with your hands, you know what I mean? But like all the intricacies of it, like I could never win that game because I don't understand, even how to play the game properly. And in business, I was playing with the wrong set of rules. I was playing with, the idea that, brick and mortar, this is what it is, time for money. I can only teach so many classes. I can only put so many people on the mats. And it was limited. And the set of rules that I was playing with were very capped. And so the idea of gig work is I'm not trading time for money anymore. I'm leveraging and working with companies and working with businesses that some of those deals that we're starting to work with are like big windfalls, like there's some big deals that we have coming through, but then there's also like the idea of like the recurring side, right? Like, okay, so I'd start working with a restaurant or a whatever, and all of a sudden I recognize that, this recurring money starts coming in and it's sticky and it's not, going anywhere. And all of a sudden that starts to grow and grow. That's a different kind of leverage, right? It's not capped anymore like my martial arts school was or the print shop was or whatever, right? It's like, it's a different set of rules, right? And I'm sure you experience that too, I guess is why I'm saying that. Cause I know you grew up in the restaurant world and watch that, as a restaurant. Like, how do you grow that? Well, you open up another location, right? Cause you can only put so many people in the tables at any time, right? There's a limitation to it. But the idea with gig work is the limitation is very different.
It changes. Right? Like, I think the digital world kind of changes everything. And the ability to expand your reach is something that you can't do in a traditional service industry. Like, your martial arts school is a service industry. You could only service so many people at a certain amount of time. The same thing with like, a restaurant, you can only service so many people. Again, okay, prices, margins, all that kind of stuff can change.
Always things you can tweak,
the economy side of everything. But in order to change the influence and to change your reach and like what the cap is, there's no cap once you explore the digital world and have the ability to be running 10 deals at once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think after, the pandemic in 2020, people's eyes kind of opened that there is a different way.
Yeah.
And then their receptiveness to say, actually, I'll try that. And the cool thing is, like you were saying, is sometimes a lot of people look at like, well, if I'm going to do this, I just want to close a big deal. But yes, the big deal is great. But the little deals that are every single month that add up, that's a bigger victory because that is an endless stream that keep coming in every single month. Like, you have 5 or 10 businesses that you're helping on an IT solution, cybersecurity, profession. They're all using emails. They're all using, software in some way, shape, or form. If it's advanced or not advanced, they're using it. Providing that solution to protect their data. That's a reoccurring. That's going to stick for a long time.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
Eventually you have a restaurant where you help with that found money and provide them enough education and a solution to say, actually, you are entitled to this. And your big victory comes. You get a nice payday there, but you also have reoccurring. Because sometimes that timeline on getting that bigger deal takes a little longer. So you have different types of money coming in at.
Yeah, different ways to leverage. And
of course.
I want to back up to this. You said something. You said, talk about pandemic, right? And it reminded me of this moment when I really dove into gig work, even really, both feet in. Like, I need a side income. It was because of that. And you got to think a martial arts school, right? Restaurants were much different, right? But a martial arts school, how do you do that when you can't meet with each other, right? We did everything remote for a while. We did everything literally.
You could teach online, like you could do like
online,
a class, right?
That's all I could do is online.
But you
teaching,
can't
right?
feed people online.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in a business that you think is recession proof because people still want to eat.
Yeah.
Well, it's not.
And that was the first moment, and I will be very real and say I had never experienced anxiety before, but there was this moment where all of a sudden it was like, man, the ground wasn't solid underneath my feet. It was like, you mean I can't teach martial arts? Like, what is this? I need to start considering some other type of income, some other type of, and I had already gone down that road a little bit. I had already worked on some other side, income and things like that from here and there. But this was the first time where I was like, oh my God, what if I have to, right, to feed my family? Because the martial arts school was our main source of income. And then all of a sudden it was like, what if that wasn't anymore? I'd lose my house. You know what I mean? And it was like, everything would fall apart. And it really made me, step into, that looking at all that, right? And so I wanted to understand what I did is I started looking into trading. Right? And we talked about that before. And, there's pros and cons with all that, right? And then I started marketing for other companies. I started doing lead generation for real estate agents and for financial advisors and things like this. And it was a whole beautiful, marketing company that I started building. It was my side gig. And we were spending millions of dollars in Facebook ads, and it was an amazing, thing that we built. But that was my first experience with side gig work, was because of that feeling, that anxiety of feeling like, oh, what if I can't do this thing that I love anymore? What if martial arts was not really a thing? And there was another experience with that too, whereas, and I know that, with your soccer experience and your accident that you had, was a very similar experience, but I had surgery in both my knees. I had my meniscus removed in both knees, 2 different times, but there was a part where I was like, what if I can't do martial arts at all? What if I physically can't do it anymore? Like, that was my whole career. It was my identity. And this was even before the pandemic, but I remember thinking, back then, I'm like, man, what if I can't do this anymore? What else is there? Like, what else could I do with my life? And so that's, again, like moments like this that kind of make you start looking into what else. I think that what else, right? That's the side gigs. Yeah. That's the gig worker, mentality of, what else is there, right? What else could I do? What else could I do to provide for my family, right?
I mean, there's so many things out there, right? And I think it's a slippery slope too, because everyone has something, and a lot of the stuff is just not real. Mm-hmm. If you are looking at something that you say, hey, like what can I do that can bring me income with the lowest amount of risk and the lowest amount of time? And I think what we have is so unique because it doesn't require you to study a lot. Like, I know you mentioned like something like trading. That takes a long time.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of education that goes into it. There's a lot of an emotional roller coaster as well.
Yep. Getting your butt kicked over and over and over and over and over again until you can finally.
The life cycle of that is a long time. And it doesn't matter if you have someone to guide you. Yeah. That life cycle to get to where you want to be is very, very long. Mm-hmm. What we have here is so unique because the life cycle can be pretty quick.
Yeah. Because you don't have to be the expert.
Yeah.
You don't need to be the IT expert or the credit expert or the restaurant expert or whatever.
Learn something.
Yeah.
Like it's you don't need a special license. No. You don't have to go and study for something special. You don't have to sit there and learn a bunch of material to sell a pitch or anything like that. Like, if you owned a restaurant today and I came to you and I said to you, hey, Gary, you're paying FICA taxes right now every single week that you process payroll. That's not news to you because you see it and you don't even know how much you're paying. You probably do, but you don't realize how much it's starting to add up. And if I come to you and I say to you, okay, all the FICA taxes that you've paid out on all of the employees that you have, if there was a way and I could recover 3 years worth of what you're entitled to back for absolutely no money, is that something you would be, you'd consider? Yeah,
it's a no-brainer, right? It's found money.
Exactly.
There's no risk for that person.
It costs you no money. It costs me no money. Mm-hmm. But if I put you together with the right people, I've created a bridge. And I'm solving a problem.
Yeah. So how much training and education and process do you, as a MyGig certified reseller coming in brand new to this, how much do you have to go through in order to be certified to be able to go through and offer that to a restaurant? You're talking about a couple hours. Watch a couple videos, and you're going to have enough of an education to be able to do this, to offer this, because you don't have to be the expert. You don't have to be the accountant. You're not filing for them. We have a team of accountants that do all this stuff.
And if you don't know, you have a community to ask.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the best place to be in, where, if you are looking for a side hustle, or if you're strapped for cash and you're like, what's the easiest way to make money right now? Solve a problem that is low overhead, that doesn't take time for you to learn, and you can get the customer paid and you get paid.
Yeah. And you don't have to do that scary sales stuff, right?
No, because you're not coming from a sale. You're not driving a product down their throat.
No, not at all. There's no sale. It doesn't cost them anything.
It costs them nothing, and it's like you say, found money. Tell me a business owner right now that wouldn't take a cash injection that is money that they didn't know they're entitled to.
That's right.
So it's a whole conversation changer, and it's such an easy, smooth transition to make money on the side.
We started as talking about the who, and the kind of the different audiences that we really cater to and work with here. And I think that I don't care if you're that person who's just coming out of college and brand new and just getting their career going, like the gal I was talking about, or if you're that person who has gone through the ups and downs of life and gotten kicked down before, and now you've learned some things and now you're ready to dive in, or if you're ready for that business in a box and ready to just dive in with both feet and actually do this. And I think that what you just said is something that anybody can step in with a few hours of training, a couple hours of work, to learn the system and learn how to talk about it. And all of a sudden it's like, well, that's an easy thing. I can do that.
You don't need work experience. Yeah. You don't need a degree. You don't need, it doesn't matter what your past is. It doesn't matter what, whatever you feel like is holding you back. Yeah. You can literally change your situation in 90 days. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the coolest thing in the world, is you can put all of it into your own hands and you can change your situation in 90 days. Even every single person goes and gets coffee, or nearly every single person gets coffee every day or two. Yeah. That local coffee shop, you can literally be tips. A resource to them that you could be their biggest blessing that they don't even know yet. Yeah. That costs them no money. Yeah. And what does that do for you? It completely changes the situation. Yeah. And one of the thing I can close with, I guess, is the thing that I love about what we do here is the low risk, low pressure side of this. Yeah. That even for the person getting started, I mean, it's our whole business in a box. Everything we do is $100 a month. That's it. Like there's no gotchas, there's no back end, there's no upsells or anything like that. It's that's it. It's all there is to it, right? It's very, very simple to get started, low risk to get started with this, and you can really change people's lives. You can change businesses' lives. I mean, what business wouldn't? And the domino is unbelievable. Think about it. You help that one business, that local barista. How many other businesses does he know? And not only other businesses, but how many of the other services that we have that can serve that same restaurant. But now that you've earned their trust and credibility and all that kind of stuff goes along with that. You have a life client. You got them a check, right? They're going to love you, right? And so whatever else you have going on, they're going to be like, yeah, I'll listen to that. And that's where you really build a solid, a business here. And so, Alex, I always appreciate the conversation, man. We're going to continue this and dive into some other ideas here today. But man, I'm really enjoying spending time and just getting to sitting across from you and pick your brain a little bit. And there's a wealth of knowledge and experience from over the years, and and I'm sure that you're able to help and serve everybody here on the call too. So I appreciate you. Absolutely, and I'm excited about this journey because of, I guess, experiences that we can prevent landmines being stood on and really help every type of person in whatever stage they are in their life. So yeah, I'm excited for this, and thank you for having me. Right on. Thanks for tuning into the MyGig podcast. If you got value from today's conversation, make sure to follow, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who's ready to take control of their income. You want to learn more about joining the MyGig movement? Head to joinmygig.com to get started. We'll be back soon with more real conversations, real strategies, and real stories from the front lines of the new economy. Until then, keep showing up, keep leveling up, and keep helping others win.